Hello friends, we are back with the current affairs topics. Today's topics would include Pakistan and Afghanistan situation and how Pakistan's current airstrikes in Afghanistan and Afghanistan's blowback is affecting both of these countries' relations. So this will be a topic actually which is helpful for every GS centric topics. Then another comes like why foreign policy is needed to be people centric and how India is moving towards making the foreign policy people centric. Third is solutions to the water crisis that is being felt across the countries. And yesterday, as we know, was the World Water Day, 22nd of March, and there are situations where water crisis is now becoming a bigger issue. Fourth is Maldives now calling India a closest ally after a long period of India out campaign that was suggested by recently elected President Muizu. Now comes another, that is why multilateral banks are central to India's growth story. So we now move to the first topic. Pakistan is paying for its role in supporting Afghanistan, supporting Islamists in Afghanistan. You see, the situation is like this. Earlier, whatever the Pakistan's instrument of state support, you must know that Pakistan has been instrumental in using state-based support to terrorist groups, not only to instigate the instability in Afghanistan but also to instigate an instability in India also. It has been its principal story where either state actors or non-state actors have been given shelter by Pakistan to target India-based assets in our country, be it Ahmedabad, Mumbai or Jammu and Kashmir, etc. But the same thing is happening and now playing its you can say that it is now backfiring on Pakistan, the Taliban issue. You know that Taliban is now ruling the Afghanistan, and the government that was democratically elected earlier has been thrown by Taliban, and Taliban is now ruling the Afghanistan territory. When there was a democratic government in Afghanistan, it was Pakistan which was supporting the Talibanis. Why? Because they wanted this government of Afghanistan that was earlier democratically elected to become unstable. So they tried to support Taliban based terrorists plus other organizations who could create instability in Afghanistan. But later on what happened is when Taliban came into power, this started changing, the equation started changing. When Taliban returned to power in 2021 of August, then the Pakistan's administration that time had talked about Pakistan and Afghanistan border being a source of friction between the two countries. Pakistan carried out airstrikes in Afghanistan province of Paktika and Khost earlier this week. There are two provinces in Afghanistan called Paktika and Khost in which Pakistan has carried out attacks in Afghanistan. And it has killed at least 8 civilians in that particular territory. What is Pakistan argument? Pakistan says that we were taking action against Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan, TTP. TTP, the Pakistanis actually blame the TTP for a surge in terror strikes in Pakistan's territory. Taliban actually also launched attacks on Pakistani military posts along the border of Afghanistan-Pakistan, that is Durand border. That's why we say that right now the situation along Pakistan and Afghanistan border is not according to what both these countries desire and is right now on an unease. Pakistan, which played a key role in Taliban's rise in the 1990s, has backed the Sunni Islamist group for years. In the late 1990s, when Taliban was in power, Pakistan was one of the only 3 countries to formally recognize Taliban. Islamabad actually, and one more thing, when there was a 26/11 terror strike that happened on India's interest, and even actually the 9/11 happened, it was Pakistan which tried to instigate Taliban against the strategic Indian interest or the United States interests. And one more thing is entire Taliban leadership was then based in Quetta of Balochistan. So you see how much shelter Pakistan has given to Talibanis. You must know that in Quetta, Balochistan at that time entire Taliban leadership was based. Even Pakistan helped the Taliban against India and US based Afghanistan government. In the midst of America's withdrawal in 2021, and when Taliban came to power, Pakistan was trying to even deepen its engagement with Taliban. But because of these acts and the Tehreek-e-Taliban that Pakistan actually helped cultivated, it is now blowing back on itself. Taliban is the government in Kabul as of now, and the return of Taliban to power in Afghanistan has strengthened the Tehreek-e Pakistan, Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan group. Tehreek-e-Taliban and Afghanistan Taliban are two different organizations but almost close to ideologically. Both are Pashtuns and they follow strident Deobandi interpretation of Islam and believe in the rule of Sunni Islamic clergy. And now it is becoming a headache for Pakistan that Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan and Taliban's ideology is same, and they are somewhere actually, Pakistanis are somewhere saying that these are right now helping each other to strike terror in Pakistan. So Afghanistan Taliban has not severed their ties with Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan despite Pakistan calls and threats, which has put both countries on a collision course. So this is the current environment that is prevailing between Pakistan and Afghanistan. Even Pakistan Taliban, if I want to tell you, the Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan was set up in 2007 as an umbrella group of several militant outfits with the aim of imposing a strict version of Islam in the country. Pakistan says that Kabul has refused to join in TTP because the Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan and Taliban's ideology is similar. That's why they say terrorist attack in Pakistan also, that the Pakistani government blamed the TTP for December 2007 assassination of former Prime Minister of Pakistan that time, Benazir Bhutto. At the zenith of its power, the Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan's extended network sometimes controlled large swaths of territory. And that's why we are now saying the Pakistanis are also having a frustration that the Afghanistan Taliban's refusal to act against Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan reminds many of the former US Secretary of State Hillary Clinton's observation that Pakistan could not nurture snakes with the expectation that they would only bite its enemies. And as I told you that whichever country facilitates the state-based or non-state-based support to these terrorist groups, one day or the other those terrorist group will definitely come and bite you rather than keep on biting the others for which you have created those particular enemy terrorist groups. So now Pakistan is paying a price for it, and Pakistan's Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan, which is now playing a bigger role in Pakistan to carry out attacks, and Taliban's current ideology and Pakistan's Tehreek-e-Taliban group's current ideology are both like similar, which actually gives a different which gives a similar ideological organizational setup, and they are strident Deobandi interpretation of Islam supporters and believe in the rule of Islam, Sunni Islam clergy. That's why there is a problem between Afghanistan and Pakistan as of now. Then comes another question: why foreign policy should be people centric? We know that foreign policy is also one of the way in which a country's economic power or any kind of developmental necessities are also being met by the current country's relationship with another countries. Foreign policy is one by which a country decide how its relation with other countries will be. It can be on a neighborhood first basis. It can be even an extended neighborhood first basis. It can be on a basis of like-minded countries which are democratically elected. Making them people-centric also helps when countries like India, which have a very, very large migrant group that is living outside. For a country like India, making foreign policy also people-centric even helps because India does require a lot of investment for its economic uplift. Not only economic uplift requires the funds, but it also requires the technical support. And in that also, India requires a facilitation of foreign policy which is people-centric and which can actually help people to rise above their ranks and help the country move forward. So that's why S. Jaishankar says that a majority government has made a difference in the way the world used to see us, but it is not as simple, because in a country which is currently paying a price with Ukraine and Russia war, Israel-Gaza war, Red Sea crisis, even sometimes actually West Asia crisis also, and even South China Sea and Indo-Pacific. In that respect, and China's encirclement of even India's and China's border crisis with India also. So that's why as Jaishankar says that making people-centric policy is definitely a desirable thing, but it is not a simple thing. You must have seen that what is the people-centric policy. During the time of COVID, you must have seen that how many operations we ran, like Operation Ganga, etc., to bring all those people who were living in other territories, so that actually those people can be saved from the COVID or Corona crisis. They were brought back to our country, and none was left there without any kind of non-fulfillment of help. So that is one of the way. Another, whenever any person living in any part of the country, India wants that diaspora's help, and diaspora's help in further investment in our country. But India has never said that you should go out of your country or come and start basing yourself. So people centric in the sense that you remain your host country, but you should improve relations with our country. You should know better the Indian territory and its relationship, etc. So they said that this is the people centric policy. Another people centric foreign policy is when a foreign minister is available 24/7 to deal with even an individual crisis. Recently, we have seen that in Russia, there was an issue where Indian people actually who went there, they were being inducted in the Russian, military services, etc. And they were even, exploited there. So on a basis of single tweet, the Ministry of External Affairs came into picture. That is the effect of the people-centric foreign policy. So whenever you are asked a question like, India's foreign policy has now turned more as a people-centric, give us examples. So you can write examples. Even they can also ask that, what can be the benefits of people-centric policy? As I told you, these can be the benefit of the foreign policy. So that is now the mix of foreign policy that is not only other centric but even now getting people centric. Even in whenever we talk about in Russia Ukraine crisis or Gaza center crisis, India's policy has been nation first. Whether this is people centric in the sense that we will give support to countries issue based. Suppose say we are getting help from Russia of a cheaper fossil fuel, then because of it is beneficial for our people, because it will not bring high inflationary pressure, that's why we would want Russia's relationship to improve. That time India imported huge quantities of oil because India was getting cheaper supplies, and that time when India and all the world was facing the energy crisis and high oil prices, India actually made that facilitation to its citizens of the lower energy prices. So this is how the foreign policy centralization for people makes a difference. Now comes another question, that is simple solution to the climate crisis or water crisis. What is water crisis? You see, whenever people start having issues of water, where water tables actually they start dwindling, water availability per capita started going down, and then after whatever the tube wells etc. or the wells, their water levels also start decreasing. Per capita availability is a major indicator where the water situation or how is the improvement, whether there is an improvement in water situation or not, is always looked upon. So when we talk about simple solution to water crisis, we say that India gets an above average rainfall. Definitely it gets above average rainfall, but rainwater harvesting is one thing actually which is not in our as of now psyche. So only those regions which face acute crisis of water, they only actually go for the rainwater harvesting. Otherwise most of the cities or most of the villages or homes etc. are still without the rainwater harvesting. So rainwater harvesting can be a sensible solution to the water crisis. When water shortage occur, the mindset is myopic, one that is of acceptance, that okay, water is in deficit, so we accept it, but we will not take action. So this is also one of the mindset issue. We start finding scapegoats, and more than that, we start laying the blame games on other even civic agencies or lack of rains. But we don't feel that India actually has more than the average rainfall, and if we improve the water conservation efforts, then at least we can save the water crisis happening. So that is where the problem begins, that India is one among the 17 water stressed nation in the world, leading to a misconception that facing water scarcity is normal. India, as I told you, has close to 1100 millimeter of rain, which is much more than most of the European nations, the United States and even China. India has plenty of rivers and utilizes close to 8% of rainfall, which indicates the inbuilt potential to harness it more optically. So there is an inbuilt potential to harness even the river, the annual rainfall plus the plenty of river actually which can give us fresh water. So one solution can be this thing, that India, number one, the average annual rainfall has to go rainfall that has to be taken care of. It has to be harvested. Even the perennial rivers, actually those flows, the fresh water in that we can even extract it. Contractors and consultants propose expensive concrete structures to harvest rainwater, but these are simple solutions that require minimal investment. Rainwater can easily be harvested and led through the graded gravel pits. Graded gravel pits, you can write simply that there are graded gravel pits concept, which is not only cost effective but also contribute to the shallow aquifer recharge. And when the shallow aquifers actually recharge, then the water level started either improving, or you can utilize those water whenever you need to. The indiscriminate use of tube wells also lead to the constant decline of water tables, and storm water drains are presently being utilized to transport water from one area to another. Instead, if rainwater is harvested in storm water drains by putting micro graded gravel pits in a distributed manner, it will help recharge not only the ground soil but also the overflow of water will also be taken care of. Whenever we know that there is a annual rainfall happening or rainfall happening, then there is an overflow of water which the city's infrastructure cannot handle. But that water goes west, either they go into a river, or either fall and get dried like that. But when it is harvested, it can become a game changer for India's water story. We should also focus on soil, because water problem should be viewed holistically along with soil also, which is living being but with the mankind treat it's a dirt. A handful of soil. You see, soil contains living organisms. Living soil is typically rich in not only organic matter but also nutrient, and it can hold water, support growth and development of plants. Soil has an enormous capacity to hold water and is the largest reservoir of fresh water on earth, holding close to 6 to 8 times the combined capacity of all river basins put together, and 95% of food is directly or indirectly produced through soil. So a unit of soil contains 50 cent soil particles. So the idea is, whatever the soil, we need to take care of the soil also, because that can lead to the discharge of water, that can lead to the even recharging of water. And with the agriculture, the nutrients that we use or the fertilizers that we use, the chemical fertilizers degrade the soil quality, that also need to be taken care of. Because if we do not allow the soil to be degraded, then that soil actually will never be a salty kind of marshland, etc. So it will help facilitation of aquifers recharging. Then comes the recommended approach. Increase water holding capacity for soil and other centers. So soil testing can be one of the mechanism through which we can always help not only the chemical fertilizers reduction of the use, plus also dealing with the water crisis. In this regard, lessons may be drawn from the recently initiated innovative scheme called Drone Didi, which has created rural women entrepreneurs, and it has helped reduce the time for spraying pesticides, spreading them more evenly. So that can be, if the Krishak Sakhis also could partner Drone Didis, it could greatly help in water conservation. Even a mass awareness program to harvest and hold maximum rainwater within one's plot of land is necessary, so that every plot of land is water positive. So these kind of helps can be done. Even the RWS, restoration of water bodies, and even the societies which are dealing with water in residential areas need to be made aware about the water crisis and how the water crisis can be solved out. Then comes another issue, that is Maldivian President Muizu now seeking debt relief from India. This government of Maiju has won the elections on the India Out campaign. India Out campaign means whichever the presence of India was there, they say that India's presence should go either a military personnel or a developmental, or even Muizu's government, which is currently in power, has not chosen India as a principal or first country which a president, when he wins an election, visit. So there is a tradition in Maldives that whenever a president of Maldives is elected, he visits India first. But Muizu did not visit India. Until now, he has not visited India. But he has constantly ranted against India through the India Out campaign, and he even visited China. And China, he has said that China is now becoming a closest ally of us, or China's military and defense, partial military and defense agreements also he is trying to secure. He also says that the free trade agreement that Maldives has with China, he wants actually it to be made operational as soon as possible. So why suddenly he has now talking praise for India? Because he knows that Moizu's government actually has although won on the India out campaign, but China first of all is not a neighbor of Maldives. India is a neighbor first of all. So India has been time and again a first responder to Maldivian territory, whether that was a water crisis or some other things. Even the sea lanes of communication, those pass through this particular area between Maldives and India, these are secured by Indian Navy, and India actually works as a net security provider in this particular zone. So China is very far. Maldives is also getting worried because you see Sri Lanka, how much help it is right now providing to India. And Maldives also know that in Sri Lankan economic crisis, it was India which facilitated close to $4 billion in loan to Sri Lanka, despite Sri Lanka at one time it started going close to China. But China did not provide them the loan. It was India actually which provided them the loan. Now on the same basis, Maldivian is seeking debt relief from India. One of the also great thing is India contributes to Maldivian economy through tourists also. The tourist economy in Maldives contributes a lot, and Indian people have been the major contributor of tourists there. So tourism economy of Maldives is also India centric. One more thing is Maldivian, half of the opposition or most of the opposition of Maldivian as of now are supporting India, and they are also raising a campaign in which they are blaming Muizu that unnecessarily he is provoking India. So these are the things which may be that Maldivian government is starting to think and is going to take corrective steps. India provided close to $400 million to Maldivian by in this year's calculation is Maldivian owned close to $400 million to India. So India will continue to remain the Maldivian closest ally, now Muizu says, and emphasizes that there was no question about it. He even says that Indian tourists etc. now are welcome to the Maldivian territory. The Maldivian proximity to India, that is barely 70 nautical miles from the island of Minicoy in Lakshadweep and 300 nautical miles from the mainland nation, makes Maldivian importance for India also a mostly big thing. And if India wants to work on its Sagar scheme, that is securing growth for all in the Indian Ocean region and India Ocean Rim Association, if it has to be made more powerful, then even India requires Maldivian support. Even India actually requires a pro-Indian government in Maldives, because India does not want Maldives to become a China's puppet in the territory which is actually near to India. So now something is happening and some course correction is being seen. Let us see what happens afterwards. We will keep on updating you. Then comes multilateral development banks' role in India's economy and growth potential. As you must have also seen that India's support for the multilateral development banks is enormous. India joined the Bretton Woods conference in 1945 only to support that developmental assistance that these banks will provide will definitely help those that times developing or least developing countries. India, as you know, helped establish new development banks in the BRICS. India has also advocated about the reforms in the multilateral banks, reforms about not only the quota increase, but also the way these multilateral banks provide technical and economic support to the countries, especially India's economic strength. They also India has also actually talked about the multilateral development bank, and that this was one of the agenda in the G20 nation summit that happened in our territory. So finance ministry this time is now advocating that these multilateral banks should help India become a developed nation by 2047. And how that can happen? Number one, by providing developmental finance without any kind of terms and conditions. Two, keep on providing the technological assistance, because these multilateral banks are so professional in their nature. Their expertise in project implementation is so high that India can utilize this project implementation strategies of that, and can then help implement the same sort of project. Those always actually get delayed in India, and they always increase the cost. So India demands from the multilateral bank that the project implementation expertise of multilateral bank should help India, so that the project actually not only finishes on time, but cost on them can also be reduced. because if the projects can't implemented in time, India's infrastructural story actually will then it start playing its role, and logistics cost that in India that is 15 to 16% of GDP will then start coming down, and it will make our products less costly and export more friendly. So that is also one of the thing that we want from the infrastructure, or sorry, from the multilateral banks. As of February 762, 764 or 190 to 1900 infrastructure projects, each involving investment of close to 150 crore or more, were delayed, according to the government's latest flash report. This has inflated the cost of these projects by 4.92 lakh crore rupees from the original projection of 32 lakh crore rupees. That I told you that there is a cost overrun also. So not only the projects get delayed, but the cost also is higher. This cost or the added cost can then be put into other projects. No, number one, so the project gets timely done, completed, and then after the cost that is saved, it can help in other project also. So India does require the multilateral development banks support into making India a developed country by 2047. So these were the topics that we today discussed. If you feel that our channel we are serving a good cause, then you can like and share our button. For more, you can give us feedback. For more such videos, you can like the button and subscribe the channel. Thank you.